it's Doris with All the Books, and I have another video series that I've thought up that I've been really wanting to do for months now. So I'm excited to finally get started on it. But I'm just really just impressed on me how reading books that relate in some way can enrich the reading experience so much. Just bring new thoughts to mind and layer those thoughts, and it's just, if you get two books that really coincide some way, it just really takes it up a notch. And this, I first noticed this phenomenon, I know when it happened, and usually this doesn't happen that I remember exact times in my life, but you know, books have publishing dates. So this happened back in 1997. I had finally read Steinbeck's The Grapes of Wrath. I'd read a lot of his smaller works back in high school, but I guess I was intimidated by the size of The Grapes of Wrath at the time. So I finally read it in 1997. It is, of course, an amazing, amazing novel. But right after, I had a really good friend who was a children's librarian, and she had introduced me to the Newbery Prize winners, which I was obsessed with for several years. I collected Newbery winners for quite some time. And she told me about Out of the Dust, which had just won the Newbery Prize that year. And this is a story, now Grapes of Wrath is the story of a family in Oklahoma that has to pack up everything. They're forced off their farm due to bankruptcy, and they have to pack up everything they own, and they migrate to California for the agricultural industry. So Out of the Dust is the story of also on a farm, but they don't lose their farm, but they go through all of the problems with the dust storms and, you know, debt and everything, and almost losing it. And the mother passes away in childbirth, and the little girl and her father are left alone, and really, really hard times. This is written in free verse poetry, and it is a stunning, stunning read. Age does not matter with this. This is very mature. Gorgeous, gorgeous. The writing is mature. It's just gorgeous and stunning. So I highly, highly suggest that I would recommend either of these books, and reading them together, amazing. Totally amazing. This is Out of the Dust by Karen Hess. So I've had my eye out for things like that, and just I like that thought process. So this next one is actually a bonus three-fer. Not just two, but three books that go together extremely well. So we have Homegoing by Ya Jessie, and this tells the story through many, 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 many generations, like, I don't know, 7 or 8, 5 or 8, I don't remember, but it starts off in Africa with one girl actually being stolen from her family and shipped off to America in the slave trade, and the other sister ends up marrying a slave trafficker and staying in Africa. So this sets the stage. It really explains the intricacies of the slave trade and how that came about and how it was executed, and then through time in both continents. So there's that. So you've got this bird's eye view. Then we've got Colson Whitehead's The Underground Railroad, which is focusing in on slaves in the U.S., but it takes a small view of different pockets of slavery and how the slaves are treated in different areas, and also just the the emancipation process a little and how that is even racist. So this is zooming in quite a bit closer, but it's looking at different pockets, so it's never really focused. You have two main characters that travel through these different areas, but you never really get close. Then you have Sumach Kids, The Invention of Wings. This one you get really close. You've got a mother and her child, Handful, and Handful is given to Sarah, who is the slave owner's daughter. It's a tradition that they be given their own personal slave, I think when they turn 11, some of their in the tween years. So Handful is given to Sarah as her own personal slave at that age, and it just talks about the slavery and what the mother goes through, and her mother as well. And the girl Sarah, eventually, she never fits in with her family. She's got strong ideas about life, and she ends up moving north and becoming an abolitionist. And it's just a very deep look at one family and two women on either side of the slavery issue. So this is a very great group of books to read together and think about, and aren't they stunning? Yes. So there's that, and then one I just read really recently. I'm getting back into Steinbeck this year, Travels with Charlie. So this is one of his later works. It's put out in 1962. So sometime in the early 60s, he packed up his truck, his camper truck, and traveled a circuit all around the United States. So you're reading about the 60s, which is historical to us, but when it was written, it was contemporary. He was writing about what he saw in America, and his focus is changing America. This was a really good read. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And then, I can't remember, I think I read this one next, not really making the connection until I got into it. But this is A Turn in the South by V.S. Naipaul, and I believe both of these are Nobel Prize winners. I believe. I will check on that and link it below. But Naipaul, this is the only book that he wrote based in the U.S. He is of Indian descent, but he was born in Trinidad and was educated at Oxford in England. And he traveled through the southern U.S. with a friend, or just meeting different people that were connected through this friend. And so you get these brief looks, and he does research and talks to the people, and these looks at different areas of the country. So you go to Tallahassee, Florida, you go to Charleston, you go to Tuskegee Institute in Alabama. It's fascinating, and it's just his thoughts, and he is very, very unbiased in his writing. So he writes just what he sees from both sides of the track. But this one was written in, I believe it was 1989, or was it, yeah, 89. So this one is my college years, and I grew up in a small town, and both of these, they're not about race at all, but they are, especially this one. But he just very much highlights how racism still exists in the South. And this really was the life that I lived growing up. It was just amazing for me to read it in words. Just, the lifestyle, and, growing up, you didn't see it for what it was. But that's what it was. It was racism. So this is a travel log, but it's also just powerful, as is this one. Very, very interesting reads. So, what books have you read that just really gelled together and made you think. I would love to hear. I'm always on the search for new books, and when you have books that really speak together, I think it just adds so much, so much. So thanks for watching, and I will be back soon. Bye.